I'm going right now.
Okay.
I'm not recording
You
yet,
guys
though.
have music cued?
Oh, yeah.
John, you want to count us down?
For music?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let me put it up. All right, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
On go. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, I'm recording right now.
All right.
Let me know. Count me off when you start your intro, Jen.
I'm trying to use this link that you sent. Just to test it out.
Yeah, we have to make sure everyone understands. It was Michael Jordan's head, or Michael Jordan's hand.
And not freaking magic. God, so crazy. You know that link makes you it forces you to open VLC.
Okay, don't use it then. I don't know what it is.
Here, I'm gonna try to go on YouTube right now. I just kind of search. Here we go. My broadcast. I found it.
Yeah, I found it too.
I'm just trying to find the link.
Let's see.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Stop the stream?
Just the
Or stop
recording.
recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I could copy and paste this top one, but it's like a long ass link, dude. There's gotta be a hot link somewhere here, right? I would assume.
That's what I thought I sent you.
Probably this
Nah.
one.
I think that works. I'll use that one. Okay. I'm tweeting this out.
I could hella hear someone breathing. I don't know who it is.
Probably
me?
me. I'm a loud breather.
Is it me?
Is it this breathing? I'm sure that'll get a lot of followers.
Maybe it's me.
Okay, I can see the chat from here too. That's cool. I'll try to pay attention to it a little bit. Hello to anyone that's on right now. But are you guys ready?
Yep.
John, feeling ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna count down. On go. 3, 2, 1, go. Man, Kevin Durant might bleed green next season. Russell Westbrook is drawing some interest from teams, really. And Grant Williams has some words for Steph Curry. I'm Rosa Panta. This is Clinic All NBA Podcast. I have the two hooligans with me. John, how you living, my friend?
Since JJ's not here, feeling good, feeling great. How are you?
I'm feeling good, man. Sammy, how you living, my friend?
I'm good, my friend. I cannot complain.
Man, let's get to the news here. Kevin Durant. It dropped today that basically the Boston Celtics are a new suitor in the race to get Kevin Durant. And the trade offer kind of goes like this for the Celtics. It goes Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a draft pick for Kevin Durant. but the Nets reportedly refused this offer and they want more. So my first question is, first off, is this. If you're giving away Jaylen Brown and Derek White, just those two pieces, does this put the Celtics in playoff or in NBA championship contention? What do you guys think?
I mean, I'd say it does only because they're already there. But it's a curious move. I understand it on one side of the house that, it's Kevin Durant. It's one of the best players in the league. Obviously, you could argue top 2 to top 3.
Yeah.
My concern with it for them is twofold. One, he's way older than the rest of their core. And so now you're breaking up a big part of that to get him. And you're potentially shortening your window. Two, and the bigger concern to me is Jaylen Brown has been just on some level so disrespected by that team and the fan base. He keeps getting thrown into every major rumor. He actually responded to a tweet about this one today. You gotta wonder, because most likely I don't think they're gonna get him.
Yeah.
At some point, is he finally just gonna say enough and not want to resign there himself? And are they gonna end up inadvertently blowing up their own core? That was the read I got from this. I mean, what did you think about all this, John?
There's so many thoughts that were traveling through my mind as I read about this, because I don't know what to believe. There's so many reports, there's so many tweets, and Twitter, it's all over the place. But you have all of these reporters saying this was discussed weeks ago, from one report. Another report says that the Celtics are super serious about making this trade. So I don't even know what to believe. And I think, Sammy, you talked about this earlier off the record, that the Nets may have leaked this report, right?
Yes, I think this came from the Nets because they have nothing to lose by leaking it. It adds another team of interest, and it potentially strikes some discord in the Boston in the Boston organization.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm thinking now is that if it weren't true, wouldn't Boston immediately come out and deny it or say something to kind of squash those rumors? Because
completely.
Like, as you guys said, Jaylen Brown is not happy. I mean, for crying out loud, he put out a tweet, an acronym, and everybody here knows it. Everybody listening probably knows it, unless you're a boomer. It was SMH, which is shake my head. Clearly talking about what transpired today, or the news that came out. So, like you said, Sammy, it's weird. And I think the Celtics are in a lose-lose situation now because, well, mostly a lose-lose situation, because I feel like they have to trade for Durant now, because they're like you said, they're going to blow up their core if they don't. I feel like Jaylen Brown is going to leave regardless, and they're going to have to find another trade partner. Their leverage is already down because they know he wants to leave. I just feel like it's kind of a mess for the Celtics. But maybe I'm being over dramatic because I am a Laker fan and I want them to crash and burn with every fiber of my being. maybe this is all just wishful thinking on my part. But again, I don't know, man. It's interesting to see how this will play out in the next couple of days. But my gut's telling me I think that Durant is not going to go to the Celtics. Just my gut.
I agree on that.
Let's say that Durant did go to the Celtics, and it was for Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a pick. Do you think that puts the Celtics up top the East? Like, do you think they're better than, Milwaukee?
If it's just those three, I could see it. But I just think it would take more on some level. But
I think on a talent level, yes. But you have to remember that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been playing together for over 5 years.
Good
that
point.
they built some level of chemistry. They know how to play with each other. And I know Durant is a very easy person to play with just because of his game. He's so adaptable and his skill set is so unique that he's not selfish to an extent. So I think it's an easier plug and play. But again, chemistry is super important and it takes a while for guys to gel. So I think that's something that's not really talked about. So talent wise, yes, but the Bucks, again, without Middleton, they were still there in the playoffs. So getting him back full strength, there's still a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, they just made the NBA Finals, so I see why they're searching for sort of that extra push to get them over the top. But apparently the Nets want also Marcus Smart and more draft picks for Kevin Durant. Hearing about that is a boatload, and all I could think about was how the trade for Rudy Gobert completely ruined the market for Kevin Durant. Because if Rudy Gobert is gonna, like, what did he get? It was like five picks.
Yeah, great.
Four of them.
Point. Yeah.
Four of them were like unprotected first, and one of them was a pick swap, right?
It was 4 unprotected, or 3 unprotected, 1 top 5 protected, and then 2 swaps. Something insane.
Absolutely, and that's for Rudy Gobert,
Right.
a man that Kevin Durant has famously insulted for being decoy like multiple times. So I don't know what the Boston Celtics can really offer where the Nets are going to be like, well, did you see this Rudy Gobert trade? That doesn't really equal out. Another thing I want to mention about this is I almost think if the Boston Celtics traded for Kevin Durant, I think Marcus Smart has to be a part of that too, because I'm just thinking about the personalities, man. And I don't think a Marcus Smart and Kevin Durant are going to get along. Like, if you have like mild-mannered like Jason Tatum, I think the chemistry would be okay. But Marcus Smart is like another Draymond, man. That's going to be another locker room fight, in my opinion. I don't know. Do you guys agree with that?
I do, and in addition to that, if you think about that, if they were actually on the Celtics front, bite the bullet and trade Brown and Smart, then you're starting Brogdon, who is a solid starter, but also injury prone. KD, at this point, you have to say is kind of injury prone. He misses time every year now.
Yes.
You have that as one concern, and 2, you're completely changing the complexion of this team. This team is a defensive team. You take Smart and Brown out of there, and you put Brogdon and Durant in their place. They're not bad defenders, but they're not going to have that same attitude, particularly Smart. So you're changing the complexion of this team. You're potentially, like John alluded to earlier, completely messing with the state of that locker room, because there's a defined pecking order there now, right?
Right.
So the more I actually think about this, as talented as Durant is, I really don't like this for them. I think this is a team that's still young enough to just try to take next steps. You filled your biggest hole, which was another score off the bench. Giving up anything near what they're asking is just, it's too much where it's going to disrupt your team, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, they were 2 games away from winning it all. And in game 6, they let Golden, and credit to Golden State for doing this, but 21-0 run in the game 6, that deciding game 6, I don't think that should happen.
Right.
Especially with 2 teams that are, you know, nearly equal. So a lot of that was on Boston. I don't know. I feel like it's a very drastic move.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like it's a drastic move too. I would like to see Boston just kind of stay pat and hope that their young core develops even more next year. But Durant would be such a huge swing, but it's like, it could be amazing, or it could like just be a complete like house on fire.
Right.
I know this isn't an apples to apples comparison, but this reminds me of the 2008 Lakers when they were up on the Celtics. I think it was game 5 or game 6. Game 5. They were up at home, I think, by 20-something points. I don't know if you guys remember this. And the Celtics came back and won that game, and then they ended up winning game 6. And and then the next year, 2009, the Lakers ended up winning against the Magic. And they had the same team. They just buckled up. They worked harder in the offseason. They worked on their flaws, and they got mentally tougher. So I just feel like the Celtics, you know, a lot of things have to fall into place, but I feel like it would be a mistake to make a move this drastic.
Yeah, absolutely agree. But you know what? We're actually going to get to our next topic here. Speaking of the Lakers, Russell Westbrook is gaining some interest from some teams. Apparently, the Jazz, the Knicks, and the Pacers have all expressed interest in acquiring Russell Westbrook and draft capital from the Lakers. I mean, we got to kick it to our man here. We got to kick it to the Lakers stand on the podcast here. What do you think about these rumors, and what would you want potentially back for Russell Westbrook if these rumors are true?
I knew you were going to go to me first.
Got to, man.
I will say this. This is how I know that there's fake news. That fake news is alive and well in our society, because there is no way that this many teams have expressed interest in Russell Westbrook. No way.
You don't think so?
Okay. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic here, but no. They I think they're interested for all the reasons that I think people, at least here on the panel, and then other people would probably realize, is that it's not because of him as a player. It's because he has, the asset is his expiring contract off the books after this year, $46 million. So that allows teams to have a lot of cap space for 2014, whoever the free agents are, whatever the market is at the time. But also the Lakers would have to be giving up draft capital, as it states here, because no one's going to take him straight up. And there's a chance that those picks are going to be valuable because the Lakers may be terrible. Well, will be terrible if LeBron and when LeBron James retires, which I think, 2027 and 2029, LeBron, if he's still playing, I don't think it's going to be as effective, but who knows, man? He's like the freaking Energizer
He's a robot,
Bunny.
dude. He's a robot.
Man. He's a robot. He's not human. Back to Russ. I know that there were rumors about the Pacers with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. That would be a great pickup. I know Turner has had some injury issues. Buddy Hield, I think, would fit really well in our system, just because he's a shooter. He's a spot-up shooter, and he shoots lights out. He's kind of streaky, but that's what the Lakers need, is shooting. The Knicks, I have a hard time knowing what they would get from the Knicks. I know Julius Randle's name was thrown out there, but I just don't see him and LeBron going well together. Sammy, you would probably agree with that.
Yeah, because I think if anything, Randle he plays a very similar game to LeBron. Obviously, much less effective version of that, though.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell's obviously off the table. That's not happening with the rest. I would imagine maybe Jordan Clarkson and some other pieces.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, and Jordan Clarkson, he's a great sixth man off the bench, but he's not really I don't know if he's the need that the Lakers that's going to put them over the top or push them further into contention. But for Russ, I guess it's like addition by subtraction to me. Getting him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a fit on this team. I think he can thrive in other places, but Russ and LeBron it's not going to work. They both need the ball in their hands. And I think it's as simple as that. And I want to get your guys' thoughts, because I don't want to complicate it any more than that. I think that's the bottom line. LeBron or Russ, you pick one or the other, because they can't coexist, because they both need the ball in their hands 80-90% of the time.
So Sammy, what I need from you is best case scenario with these three teams being the other side of the trade, and then worst case scenario.
All right. So best case scenario, I'm seeing two different versions of this. One would be the best version of the Lakers, which is the Pacers trade. Pacers trade would look something like Westbrook, and it would probably take both ones that John mentioned for Hield and Turner. I actually think that makes the Lakers a lot better fast. It takes care of the ball handling problem. It adds the shooting they so desperately need. Gives them a good defensive center.
Yeah, I would be a straight up believer in the Lakers.
That
really trade happened,
the team,
and I'm being very, very, very honest. And I rarely do that with the Lakers, but this time that trade would put it over the top for me. Go ahead, Sammy.
So the other side of that, it's interesting to me that the Knicks and the Jazz are listed, and it actually made the wheels turn, and just wanted me to make a stroll over to the old trade machine to see if there's a three-way trade there involving Donovan Mitchell ending up in New York, Westbrook ending up in Utah, and in that scenario, the only question is, so what ends up in LA in that particular scenario? But it's just interesting that the Jazz and the Knicks are listed, when I assume the Knicks are there because what they would probably want to do, as far as I could tell, is add more draft picks to give to the Jazz.
Yeah,
because
that's
the Jazz
true.
clearly want draft capital. The rumor is they want 6 or 7 picks for Mitchell. So what if that 6 or 7 picks involves rerouting Westbrook, buying him out? The other really best case scenario for us from pure entertainment is putting Westbrook in Utah and actually making him play there in front of those fans, because we know he hates them. That would be hilarious. So But overall for the Lakers, I think the Indiana trade is the one that's best. Worst case to me, agreeing with you both, I just don't see what from New York makes sense for the Lakers. Like, what are you getting that's $47 million in salary? So that one doesn't add up to me. The only thing that I'm looking at, just to go back to what you were saying, is if the Knicks are trying to get off of Randall and Fournier's contracts, those two for Westbrook, the numbers work. And in a sense, that actually, it's not the worst trade for the Lakers. It just eats up any potential hope you have for cap space in the next 4 years.
John, scale of 1 to 10, if that trade actually happened, how happy would you be?
Which one? The Pacers trade?
The Knicks trade.
So let's say it's
If it was Randall and Fournier.
It's gonna
10
take both
being-
your ones.
10 being that. Well,
10 is
not
like you're
just
sold. You're sold.
not
dude.
not just a straight up.
I don't
Fournier
think,
and
I
Randall?
don't think any team is taking Westbrook without picks. Let's meet in the middle. Call it one of your picks. Just
One of
step
our
first.
picks
Just one.
with Randall
Let's say
and
one.
Evan Fournier.
Yeah. And just to give you
but-
background, Randall 4 years, $23.8 million. Fournier 3 years, 18.
Honestly, that's like a 4 to me. And that's being generous. And the reason why I say that is because Julius Randle, I love him. The Lakers drafted him. I think he's a good talent, a great talent. I don't think he's superstar material, but I think he's a great player. He reminds me of he's like a bigger Russell Westbrook, but can slightly shoot better. But when he handles the ball, he turns the ball over a lot. He can get to the rim. He's a force in the paint, and he thinks he's a much better jump shooter than he is. So, I just don't like that trade at all, and I don't think the Lakers would do it. And if Pelinka does that, I'm gonna pick it outside Staples Center.
If this is true on the New York Knicks side, like them actually showing genuine interest for Russell Westbrook, like what more like New York Knick move can you get when you do something good by getting Jalen Brunson and completely erase his production, his spacing on the floor, his effectiveness by getting a Russell Westbrook to pair with him? Like that would be
yeah, exactly.
It would undo everything you just did this offseason.
Here's a three-way trade
crazy.
that works in the trade machine. I just want to throw this out there to all of you and see what you think.
Okay, I like
So
this.
let's sake of argument, it's Westbrook and 1 pick from the Lakers.
Okay.
Fournier and Mike Conley.
Oh
to the
my!
Lakers. Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks and add whatever else to the Jazz without draft compensation. Westbrook, Obi Toppin quickly, and then they're probably going to add 7 picks.
Okay, I like Mike Conley for the Lakers, and because he's a guy he's good in the pick and roll, and he can shoot the ball, and that's what you need on this Lakers squad with LeBron James.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
The only thing about Mike Conley that I'm worried about is that the Lakers don't need another oft-injured player,
Yes.
which he is one of those.
True.
That's the only thing that that I'm worried about on the Lakers side.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff I like. I like Donovan Mitchell going to the Knicks. I like the Jazz getting what you said, Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin quickly, and let's call it somewhere between 5 to 7 picks,
bad.
pick swaps. That's what I think will go over there. So
Yeah.
I think so the Lakers pick and all of the Knicks picks would go to the Jazz in this scenario. So I can't see Jazz Knicks interest in Westbrook unless it's combined. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Unless
so
it's the Jazz straight up just to try to accumulate draft capital.
So in other words, John's like praying for this Pacers trade to happen.
The Pacers trade is still a lot better as far as I'm concerned
would be-
overall, yes.
That would be so good. Anyway, I'm going to take us to a short little break with a word from our sponsor.
The action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer. With tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, you can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. Plus, right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. And that's promo code TBPN Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
All right, and now we are back. We're gonna switch over to another favorite topic. Our fellow hooligan, JJ Spirit Animal, Draymond Green, came out with a quote in which he tweeted and was saying, "I'm watching the '98 Bulls versus Utah in the finals." Green tweeted, "I can't help but notice our 2017 team would have beaten these Bulls by a dub and these Jazz by 40 if they're going to play these brands of basketball. And that's why it's dumb to compare eras." So obviously this lit up Twitter for a bit. Any particular initial impression on what Draymond had to say and thoughts on trying to compare eras, because that does come up a lot?
Oh, man.
Warrior fan, go.
Man, this like little bit of information that he said we would beat the Jazz by 40. I see no lies. I don't see any lies in that statement. Do you guys see any lies in that statement?
Honestly, not really. I mean, 30 if you want to be realistic, but 40 ain't that much of a stretch.
I don't think it's that much of a stretch. I don't think they could keep up, in my opinion. As far as like if we were running out in transition or how many 3-pointers we would shoot, like the points would just come in bunches. I'll address the Chicago Bulls part a little later. John, what do you think?
Well, I think he's right that it's dumb to compare eras because, and that's not really just because the styles are different. I mean, that's part of it, but it's because the game is officiated much differently. There's a lot you can get away with in terms of contact nowadays, or there isn't a lot you can get away with. Back then, there was so much more contact, and I think just the physicality is different. I mean, if we're playing, it depends, right? Are we talking about the rules back in the day, back in the 90s, or are we talking about the rules today?
I was gonna ask the same exact question.
Exactly. Like, so that matters, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't agree with Draymond's statement if we're playing the 90s brand of basketball, or the 80s, the Jordan, before the Jordan, during the Jordan rules where you're knocking guys down. You're literally on the verge of injuring people and they're called for common foul. I mean, Kurt Rambis got clothesline for crying out loud, and that was called a common foul. If that happened today, that would have been a 10-game suspension at least. So, it's guys.
I agree.
Guys today don't know what the game is like back then, but guys back then wouldn't know what the game is like today. So it's really hard to compare. I agree with him in that aspect.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this came up. This is a total tangent related to this, but I've actually been reading the Bill Simmons book of basketball recently that he wrote. This was years ago, back in like 2010, before the Warriors became the Warriors. Just started rereading it recently, and I bring it up because he mentioned that in the late 90s, all these teams that potentially could have been a challenger to the Bulls for various reasons fell by the wayside. An example being the Sonics with Peyton and Kemp that should have been there for so long, and then Kemp had some issues, and other teams fell in that way, and all of a sudden Utah rose up, not necessarily because they were that great, but because all these other teams that looked like they were going to be star-studded or be the challengers fell off. And so that team looked better by comparison, but if you really were to stack them up, era-wise, it is hard to compare, but from a pure talent perspective, when it comes to Utah only, I do think they would have been very mismatched, specifically. But you also said you wanted to comment on the Bulls separately.
Yeah. So, Draymond, we're talking about the 98 Bulls. We're talking about Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. I mean, the list goes on, right? Ron Harper, etc. Like, these were like the basketball psychopaths of their era. Like, they would just figure you out. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just because I grew up watching them and I think they're freaking superheroes. I just feel like they would figure out the Warriors, no matter what era it was. And honestly, athletically, I feel like with the 2017 Warriors, I think they could match up athletically. I do. It's not like they're going up against a Giannis. It's not like they're going up against LeBron James, like these super athletic freaks. The Warriors don't have that. in 2017. So that's my argument, is that like maybe beat the Bulls by a dub. I don't know, man. I would give the edge to Michael Jordan.
Yo, 20 is a lot, but like that's a lot, man. I mean, if he said maybe 5, I'd be like, okay. I mean, you had Kevin Durant on your team, you had Steph Curry, you had Clay, and you got Draymond, right? And you had like great role player. I think Sean Livingston, was he still on that team or no? No, he wasn't. Oh, he was. Okay,
he was.
Him, Iggy,
David West.
David West.
God,
you got a lot
team.
of. That was a stacked team. But I'm with you, bro. I think that the Bulls were just, man, they would have figured it out. Maybe they would have lost game 1 because they would have been hit with a flurry of punches and threes and transitions. But like, we're talking about Michael Jordan here. We're talking about Scottie Pippen. Like, these are, yo, come on, let's put some Draymond. Like, I know that you want to get some podcast views and engagement and start controversy, but let's be real here. 20 is a lot. It would have been at the very least, a super close game.
No, for sure. And I have no doubt that if Michael Jordan played in today's era, he would have been something like a 40 to 43% shooter from deep. Because that obviously was not a huge part of his game in the 90s, but it's because it didn't need to be. But
exactly.
If someone in analytics told Michael Jordan, hey, the math works out, you should shoot threes, he literally would spend a summer and be hella good at threes.
Exactly.
Just because he was that much of a psychopath.
Yeah.
Or like for basketball and competition.
Right. And so this one, the era is impossible to compare. Because, you look at it on paper in today's era, then Golden State's going to beat anybody. They're built for today's era. But it is going to be impossible. And like John said, you got to put some respect on the GOAT's name, man. You can't... They're not losing to anybody by 20 every game in a playoff series. It's just not happening. So.
I like the confidence from Draymond Green.
Sure.
But I also like seeing when like superstars are also really humble and respectful to like history. Like, did you guys ever see there was an interview, I think it was like Arsenio Hall or something like that, and he was talking to Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. And he said, if you guys were put in a fight, who would win? And he asked Muhammad Ali first, right? And Muhammad Ali's like, well, he's got the power. If he catches me, I'm gonna go to sleep. But first he's gotta catch me. And then Mike Tyson, he says, every head must bow, every hand must pray, or something like that. Crazy Mike Tyson stuff. And he said, but who's sitting over there is the greatest of all time. I have nothing bad to say about him. Yeah. And it's just like,
yeah,
man, put some respect,
Put some respect, bro.
Anyway.
Right. Well, that's a great reference point, too, using those guys. But from there, we will move on to someone who probably doesn't need quite as much respect as Michael Jordan. Grant Williams commented on the finals loss to the Warriors. Quote, when I've reflected and looked back to those games, I would still say confidently, to this day, they weren't the better team. I would say they were the more disciplined team. I would say that without a doubt. There's just so much to unpack here, irrational confidence among them. Guys, please kick us off. June, one more time, because you are the Warriors fan. Please let me know how hard you laughed or just what you thought of when you first read this tape.
Grant Williams must be thinking about this a lot. He must be staying up late at night just thinking about what they could have done better. And you know what? I will say that, like, talent-wise, sure, it's possible. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Warriors won, and it's 7 games. Like, when you have that many repeated attempts to defeat someone, honestly, the better team is always going to win. So I'm giving it to the Warriors. They were the better team. They won best of 7. And there wasn't any like huge injuries or anything to like really swing this series. I mean, with the exception of Robert Williams just trying to recover from an injury, but that's what I think. What do you think, John?
I mean, yeah, they were the better team. They beat you. That to me means that you were better. I mean, regardless of whether or not you think that you had more talent, you lost, right? And we can't blame injuries. I know that Williams was throughout the entire playoffs he was injured, but he's not like a major key cog on that team, I would say. Like, or at least not a Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown type, or even a Marcus Smart type. So you can't blame it on injuries. You can't blame it on fatigue, because both teams play the same amount of games. And so they won. You can't, like, it, to me, this is just so whack. And to say it, nearly a month and a half after the finals, still trying to be relevant, still trying to make, like, who cares, man? Move on. You should be working on your game, Grant Williams, and stop focusing on the Warriors.
Right. And you know what, too? The other thing about this for me is that part of what makes a team better is discipline. That's part of the package.
Yeah.
Like
You're absolutely right.
You look at the Spurs teams that had that great run. I would argue that almost every year that they won a title, there was probably a more talented team out there, but the Spurs were so good within their own system that it basically amplified their strengths because of their discipline. So to me, this whole argument is so flawed to begin with that it tells you part of the problem. So
yeah, agreed. It just feels like Grant Williams is playing a lot of NBA 2K.
Correct. But funny you mentioned that. He had enough time to attend the ESPYs and take us to our next topic, where Steph Curry threw a little shade at him in a, frankly, relatively awkward fashion, saying that he could borrow his suit or his ring. And a week later, again, Grant Williams just late on the comebacks and on the retorts. A week later, he posts on IG, quote, "I would borrow this suit, but I don't wear a smedium." With an S. So I know we're just piling on Grant Williams, but he's just giving us so much to pile on. Just any thoughts about the take, about the very poor combination of the word smedium, anything here that you want to add to this take?
Well, I think it would be, we would do ourselves a disservice and this podcast a disservice if I didn't speak on behalf of JJ, who is not here with us, sadly. The number 1 or number 1A Warrior fan. I don't know who's more of a Warrior fan, June or JJ, but they definitely are a tandem there as Warrior fans. So on behalf of JJ, I will say this. That is really weak. And not only is it a weak burn or a comeback, if you want to call it that, but he took a week. Like he was going through all of these disses or insults, writing them in his little notepad or diary. And he said, all right, this is the one I'm going to release online on Twitter because I think it hurts the most. But it's a smedium. What does that even mean? Like,
I don't know,
is he just trying to say that he's not I mean, to me, it's like, wouldn't an insult be something smaller than small? So small, like a medium is between small and medium, right? I don't know why I'm trying to unpack this insult because it's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen or heard.
Like, I hope Grant Williams doesn't have like 100 different drafts of this post because that'd be way more embarrassing. I hope he just woke up one day and is like, I guess I'll respond to this. But dude, being a week late on a comeback, like, just drop it already. You know what I mean?
Drop it. I mean, clearly he can't drop it, right? He lets things linger. I mean, he's still thinking about the Warriors, saying that they're not the better team. So,
yeah,
he's still going to be talking about the 2022 finals when he's in the 2023 playoffs, first round. He's going to be tweeting about the Warriors.
Also, it's an L on the suit. Like, I wasn't a fan of the suit.
Yeah. No, the suit's a huge L, dude.
Yeah. What did you think about all this, Sammy?
It feels like between the two, maybe I'm connecting the dots and I shouldn't be, but it's like he's trying to stay in the news a little bit.
Sounds like it, right?
For sure.
Yeah, like just trying to keep his name relevant, and I don't know, it doesn't feel like a good look. It makes him look, what's the word? I'm trying to be nice about this.
Kevin Durant-y?
Durant-y is an interesting choice. Yeah, let's go with that. Just petty. Petty might be the word.
Petty?
So
okay.
Also Durant-y, if you will. Yeah, it's just like, just let it go.
It's not a good look.
And what's the ESPYs every year? It's the monologue where the host is a famous athlete who roasts everybody, especially if he just won a championship. It's part of the banter.
It wasn't even. It's not like Steph Curry even landed the joke. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like a bunch of retweets because it was so hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
this wasn't
it's all
like
right, Grant
Peyton-
Williams.
Right, this wasn't Peyton Manning hosting the SPs and still getting retweets for what he said about Durant like 4 or 5 years later. This was not as good. No offense to Steph, but it's just this wasn't his form.
It's
And
true.
you can kind of see that. So it's just like, let it go. No one would have remembered it. I didn't remember it a week later. Clearly,
Yeah.
Grant Williams did.
Anyway, that's actually all we have for tonight's pod. I want to thank you two for being on. John, thanks for being on, man.
Hey, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Sammy, thanks for being on.
Always good to be here, man. Shout out to Jay. We'll see him on next week's pods.
Absolutely. Shout out to JJ who's missing. Shout out to RJ, our video producer who's putting us on YouTube live right now. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, the Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panta. This is the Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcast. Hey.
Hey.